Hi guys, and welcome to Lemons and Love. Today I have a super special guest with me today, and she's actually one of my favorite people ever, one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. Donna McCallum is a fairy godmother, and that is obviously a rather unusual job description. Donna hails from Cape Town, South Africa, which is, well, I also grew up in South Africa, so that's how I actually know Donna. And through her workshops and retreats and her online courses, Donna helps people manifest their dreams and move through their fears and live more abundantly and just love themselves a whole lot more. And I personally did a couple of Donna's workshops and actually on her flow experiment or flow it's actually called now. I've just seen some absolutely magic, literally mountain moving, earth shifting changes in my own life. And that's why I invited Donna here today to talk to us and insights and some of her wisdom, some really awesome. So I read it and started straight away. As I said, being a fairy godmother is a very unusual job description. It's not everyone who wakes up and decides, hey, I'm going to be a fairy godmother, let me do this. So what's the story behind that actually? How did you become a fairy godmother, and what does it actually mean to be a fairy godmother?
Well, Kat, what it means to be a fairy godmother is a little bit as you explained. It's about helping individuals, it's helping companies get clear on their dreams, their visions, their goals, and really helping people to live their fullest potential and to live their best lives. And I became a fairy godmother 10 years ago. I was traveling in South America. I'd taken a sabbatical, I'd taken a year off from working, and I had decided that I really wanted to learn how to speak Spanish. I was so excited about that. That had been one of my dreams for a number of years. And so I went traveling around South America, learning to speak Spanish and really just having the most incredible time traveling. And I know many people have the dream to go traveling and take time off and take time away from work. And while I was traveling, about 5 months into my trip, I was in Argentina. I was on a beautiful night bus, and I was fast asleep in the middle of the night, traveling between Cordoba and Mendoza. And I had what I term an epiphany experience. I woke up in the middle of the night and I had this voice in my head saying, it's time to write, it's time to write, it's time to write. And I thought, well, like, what is this? And I tried to go back to sleep again. And it was like, it's time to write, it's time to write. And I was like, luckily I had my travel journal in my hand, and I grabbed my travel journal out of my bag and I started to write. And the words literally just flowed out of me. And it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life, Kat. It was just phenomenal. All sorts of things started to flow out. And over the course of a few hours, I wrote over 50 pages. Yeah, a lot, a lot. And it was about my life. It was philosophical questions. It was chapter headings for books. It was all sorts of things. And I wasn't quite sure what this whole thing was. It almost felt, the best way for me to describe it, it almost felt like I was vomiting myself up on a page. It was just like, all of this stuff coming out. And at the end of it, after a number of hours of writing, in two very neat little paragraphs came out the purpose for my life. And it started by saying, I'm a fantastically fabulous and magical fairy godmother. And it went on in those two paragraphs to describe how my purpose is really to help people ignite their dreams, their goals, their vision for their life. And to realize the beauty of their dreams and goals in creating their most phenomenal life. And so that's how it started. I came back to South Africa and people said to me, I was 30 at the time, and people said to me, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to be a fairy godmother. And they said to me, are you absolutely crazy? What do you mean you're going to be a fairy godmother? You can't be a fairy godmother. That's like deciding to be Mickey Mouse. And I said, well, I can be a fairy godmother. And I had no idea how it was going to work. I had no idea how it was going to look. I didn't know how I was going to make money. And this is one of the big things when it comes to our dreams and goals. And you'll know this for yourself in your own life, right? You've got some big dreams and goals, and you've got no idea how it's going to work, how it's going to look, how you're going to make money. That's what happens when you have big dreams and goals. You don't know the hows. And this is one of the things that I teach in my work over and over again. And this is one of the areas where people get most stuck, right? Like, okay, I've got this big dream and goal, but how am I going to make it happen? And when they can't see the how they're going to make it happen, then they give up on the big dream and goal.
Wow, that is, I've actually heard the story quite a few times, having attended a couple stuff, but I just love hearing it over and over again. And every time you start talking, like, I am a magically fabulous fairy godmother, like, I start to cry every time because it's just so true. And like, I can just really see how you've really embodied that over the past couple of years. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's just mind blowing to me. It's really, really amazing and inspiring. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that that's what happens, right? When we choose what we want to be more than what we want to do, right? And this is one of the things that's come through so strongly in the flow experience that you've been talking about, and where you're seeing all of these magical shifts happen in your life, is that so many people in this day and age think that it's about doing, right? Okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this to create. And actually, the key part of creation is a beingness.
Yeah.
And so when I chose to be a fairy godmother, no matter how outlandish or crazy that sounded, when I chose to be something that really encapsulates magic and the ability to manifest and serve others and make a difference in the world and wave a wand and do crazy stuff, right? That came into my life. So really, when people start getting clear on their dreams and goals, it's not just a case of, okay, what am I wanting to create? But it's also, what is the beingness that I want to feel?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm clear the beingness that I want to feel. I feel I am a responsible creator for my own life.
Yeah.
That I can shift my own consciousness, and as a result, other people's consciousness shifts as well. Yeah, so what do you want to be? What do you want to, and listen to that. That's what, when people say to you, what do you want to be? They're not asking you what you want to do. They're asking you what you want to be. So what do you want to be, Kat?
Ooh, so many things. I want to be a world traveler, and I want to be someone who shows other people in the world.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you distilled that down to the essence, right? What is the essence of that being?
The essence of that being is, let's see. I really have to think about that one for a bit, actually.
Yeah.
But I find it so,
Can I,
sorry?
yes, it.
I find it so fascinating how, like, deciding what you want to be and saying, I am that. Like, although the doing and the stuff that you do and the actions kind of, they just align themselves with it. It's like, once
Yeah.
you decided what you want to be, everything else just falls into place.
Completely. And at the bottom of it all, so one of the things that I write about in my book and I teach in my programs is around, the mind, body, soul alignment.
Yeah.
And so we are so conditioned and inculcated in our society to be at the level of mind. Okay. So, what are your dreams and what are your goals, and write down your goals and say your affirmations and all of that stuff. And that's all very good and well. And it's powerful technology, but it is outdated technology. Right. So, one of the things that you'll know is that technology shifts and changes, like operating systems shift and change. I've got a Mac, and recently I took it in for a service and they said, which operating system are you running? And I said, I've got no idea. And they said, wow, we've got to upgrade the operating system. And as human beings, we've got to keep upgrading the operating system as well. And when it comes to manifesting our dreams and goals, setting your goals and having affirmations and doing some visualization was great technology up until probably about 5 years ago. It really worked because we were in the era of the mind. But since 2012, since the end of 2012, we've really shifted, and you can see consciousness shifting dramatically around the world. We've really started to shift into the era of spirit and soul. This is one of the things that I write about in my book. And I wrote my book in 2008, and I said that the era of spirit and soul was coming, but I didn't realize it was going to happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted that it is. So in the era of spirit, like, how do you have goals with soul, right? Rather than goals that are just at the level of mind.
Yeah.
Because if you truly want to manifest, it's got to be at the level of mind, body, spirit, all aligned together, rather than just at a level of, okay, this is what I want, cerebrally or egotistically even, because the ego is in control of the mind most often. So goals with soul are really about, what's the essence? What's the soul essence? Because the soul just wants to experience stuff. The soul doesn't need to own stuff. The soul doesn't need to be the best at stuff. The soul just wants to experience stuff. So you're talking about being a world traveler, right?
Mm.
Because the soul wants to experience exploration,
Mm.
discovery. It wants to experience new cultures. It wants to taste new food. It wants to have this amazing time, meet new people. And that's really what life is about. Life is
Yeah.
this amazing buffet. Okay,
Yeah.
that all day with all these different dishes, and life is saying all these dishes are available. Here's the menu. All of these items are available. What do you want? But most people get trapped in the kind of thing of like, okay, I'm going to choose this dish, and now this is where I'm going to stay. How horrific. Can you imagine eating vegetarian lasagna like your whole life? I mean, you might love vegetarian lasagna right now, but let me tell you, if you eat it 3 meals a day, every day, within a few months, you're going to get sick of vegetarian lasagna.
I think it's that thing like you know, parents force their kids to try out foods, like even if they don't eat it. And I think that's kind of the attitude that we go into with. It's like, I really don't like this, but I feel like I have to eat it, and it's really scary, and I really hate it, but I'm feeling forced to do it. And I think it's like about realizing like, you can spit it back out if you want to. You can even spit it back out and put it back on the buffet. Nobody cares. Like that is
Yeah,
important. Like you can just like that whole idea of like, well, I want to try this thing, but what if it's not what I'm meant to be doing, or what if it doesn't as great as I think it would be. And it's like, well, you can just give it. You don't have to commit to it for the rest
exactly.
of your life. I think people are afraid of actually realizing that missing out on something else while they do the other thing.
Yeah. Life is a buffet of experience, and the soul is here just to experience polarity, to experience love and heartache and heartbreak, to experience the excitement, to experience despair, to experience all of that whole range,
Yeah.
of emotions, of experiences. Your soul wants to get on a jet ski and like ride like the wind, and your soul wants to lie on the grass and just stare up at the clouds and just go from one experience to the next, to the next, to the next. But you're right. We get conditioned into having to choose one thing. We get terrified that we're going to make the wrong choice. So then we don't choose. And then we listen to other people's choices for us. And then we forget that we actually do have our own choice. Like it's this whole like mix up. Everyone's got
Yeah.
mixed up.
It's so confusing. But
Yeah.
it's funny because like I've heard you say on the flow experiment, what if everything is flow? I have this idea of well, if I'm happy doing what I love, and if I'm like really feeling it, and everything's just like working perfectly, then I'm in flow. Then I'm aligned with my higher self. But like everything is a part of it really, and like even the days where we're feeling really, excuse my French, shitty, those are also a part of the experience, and they're kind of like the contrast that allows us to see, I don't want this, I'd rather get that. So like how important is it to you to like actually have that clarity that everything is flow, and how can we actually stop judging these negative experiences as being so bad and just have them as part of our flow?
Yeah. So, you make an interesting point, and I'm so pleased that after just, a month on the flow experience, you were like, you've got it, like, woohoo, and the awareness is going in. And, that's the beautiful thing about all of this kind of wisdom teaching is that 90% of the work is done in the awareness. Really 90% of the work is just done in taking responsibility, having the awareness, and like a minuscule amount of the work is in just applying it and then living it. And so the beautiful, beautiful thing about flow is, people say to me, there's this misconception that flow is like being in flow, like I'm in the zone, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm in flow, like
Yeah.
woohoo. And the reality is flow is simply allowing a life force to flow through you.
Yeah.
That's why we call it flow.
Yeah.
And so flow is simply allowing life to express through you.
Yeah.
So life is expressing through you. It's also expressing through the tree that's outside your window right now, right? And it is expressing through the wind. It's expressing, the universal expression is coming through, but you are the only person who has the unique type of you expression that life wants to give to the world.
Yeah.
And this is what I think the majority of people in the world miss, is that life is absolutely clamoring and is like in celebration and is really wanting to move through you in your unique individual expression. And at the moment, my unique individual expression happens to be wearing fairy wings and waving a wand, and it has been for the last 10 years. And that may change tomorrow, and that's okay. So it's about not being attached to the identity that the ego says this is who you are and this is what you are.
Yeah.
And it's also about just accepting that whatever is happening in the moment is life flowing through you. Now, most people don't allow life to flow through them. Most people
They resist it so hard.
exactly. And most people, so it's imagine you're a pipe. Okay. And the more you move the more you allow flow, the bigger your pipe becomes. Okay. The bigger your container, the bigger your ability to hold this massive energy, life flow flowing through you. And the more life force flows through you, the more alive you feel. Okay. And that's what everyone really wants. Everyone really, at some level, wants this feeling of aliveness. You've had those moments, Kat, when you're just like, wow, this is aliveness. And it isn't even necessarily those moments that are good. Sometimes it's in the middle of the torment, like you're crying your eyes out, but you're feeling the pain so strongly and you're allowing it to flow through you that you're like, wow, I'm alive. Right? Probably at that time, it's like, ooh, I'm alive. Right? But that's what we're all craving, this sense of aliveness. And you'll notice that people who have this connection to source energy, who have this connection to divine and allow it to flow through them, you'll notice when those people are around. You'll feel it, right? You'll connect to them. I mean, all the greats in the world, like the Richard Bransons of the world or the Nelson Mandelas of the world, that really have opened themselves up to allow the life force to flow through them. If you meet anyone who's met those people, they say that there is an energy that flows through these people that is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Being in the presence of those, like you really, it gives you yourself the courage to like dream bigger. Just like, I feel it's like also like the whole thing like with authenticity and stuff like that is like, it's like someone else being very, very honest about something. It's like, whoa, someone else feels that. Holy cow, I can say that too. It's not a bad thing to be experiencing this. Like,
Yeah.
kind of togetherness when we actually allow ourselves to be raw and open and just like let everything flow through us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it creates connection, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why people who are in their authenticity is truly the currency of the spiritual age.
Yeah.
And you'll see this online. You'll see it, that the people who are authentic and able to be authentic to truly express themselves will have thousands of people wanting to connect to them.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the big currencies, is this authenticity. Yet the followers of the people who are being authentic are trying to copy the person who's being authentic. Like this is one of the contradictions, right? So this person is allowing energy to flow through them, whoever it is, like Lady Gaga, let's say. I mean, she's one of my prime examples. Just allowed energy to flow through her, got into a creative expression, did the most crazy kind of fancy dress stuff. Wow. People all went, oh my gosh, I want to be like Lady Gaga. No, her lesson is you want to be like you.
Yeah.
You want to allow life to flow through you in whichever way you want it to flow through you. And one of the most beautiful things about Gaga is that when she stopped feeling authentic, right? When she realized that she was working too hard and the music industry was using her, and she just stopped. Now, most people would be in the condition of the should. And this is one of the things we talk about on the flow experience a lot. People doing things out of obligation, people doing things out of the should, people doing things out of, well, I have to. So Gaga could easily have said, I am a superstar. I have to carry on doing this. Otherwise, how am I going to make my millions and billions, right? Or how am I going to disappoint my fans? But she was courageous enough to go, actually, this is no longer authentic.
Yeah.
And just stop it.
Yeah. I think that's like you said, it's like such a brave thing to do, to just like be able to be changeable and just allow that kind of expression to just flow through you. Is such a courageous thing, and like so many people are definitely afraid of that. I was wondering actually, like when you got started being a fairy godmother, like I'm pretty sure you ran into some fears and all the obligations and stuff like that. And I was actually really wondering, like, what fears came up for you the most? like when you start being a fairy godmother.
Wow. And what fears still come up, right?
Yes.
Because fears don't go away. Fears keep coming up as you move into your next level of expansion. More fear, and then it's about overcoming the fear. It's one of the reasons why I teach about overcoming fear, because it's one of the biggest stops for people. So, what fears came up for me? First, people thought I was crazy when I came back and said, I want to be a fairy godmother. People really thought I was mad. And to the extent that my mother really thought I'd lost the plot. I mean, she was devastated. She just said to me, how can you do this? And how are you going to make money? And she said, even she said, what am I going to tell my friends that you do? And I'd run my own advertising and marketing business beforehand. I had been very successful in that for 5 or 6 years before I'd gone to South America. My mother had been very chuffed. She could say to her friends, wow, Donna owns her own advertising agency. She's doing so well. She's bought property. She's done all these things. And now suddenly I was going to be a fairy godmother, this kind of airy, fairy, flaky, I don't know how it's going to work fairy godmother. She was devastated. And a number of my friends pulled me aside and said to me, like, you can't do this. Are you crazy? You're like a serious businesswoman. And this is one of the things that happens when we move into the next level of expansion. The people around you, and certainly the people closest to you that are very invested in you being in this little box, get nervous. And they also get nervous because if you follow your dreams, they've got no excuses not to follow theirs. Like it's easy to look at somebody else and go, oh, okay, yeah, Richard Branson, or, oh, okay, Oprah Winfrey, perfect, or, oh, okay, Warren, oh, those people have followed their dreams, but they're so far removed from you that, oh, they were allowed to, or they could, or they had XYZ. You can make all those excuses. But if someone closest to you starts to follow their dreams and live in their choice and live in their responsibility and live in their freedom and live in their flow, that gets quite confronting for people.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, I'm sure you felt that already.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like it kind of puts you in a position you're left with a choice to either be like, well, okay, that's fine, I'm going to be a victim for the rest of my life because obviously I just choose to be that way, or you can actually decide to really step up and do the same thing.
Yeah, and in the face of that, there may be some people in your life that disappear. So that was one of my fears. It was like, wow, some of the people in my life actually. And so I moved cities. I left Cape Town. I moved up to Johannesburg. It was really clear for me. I got very clear sign from life. And life, if you listen to it closely, if you're silent enough and if you're meditative enough and you are very clear in your asking what you want. And my asking was very clear. I want to be a fairy godmother. I want to live magically and I want to do this work. And then life starts whispering in your ear or showing you coincidences and serendipities, sending you little answers. I call them like breadcrumbs, basically. And I got very clear message from life saying, move cities. And I had to move cities because people were so determined to put me in a box that I moved cities so that I wouldn't know many people, so that they could meet me as a fairy godmother. It was at the same time that I stopped drinking, actually. I had been a student in my early 20s and had definitely drunk a lot of alcohol during those days. And in my mid-20s, when I owned this advertising agency, the alcohol companies were one of my biggest clients. So I drank a lot. And I stopped drinking when I was 29 and when I became a few months before I became a fairy godmother. And it was the same with drinking, Kat. I got back to South Africa and people would like say, oh, tequilas. And I'd say, no, thanks, I don't drink. And these were
South
friends
Africans.
and these were friends of mine that have been friends of mine for years. And they were like, what do you mean you don't drink? Of course you drink. Don't be ridiculous. What do you mean you don't drink? And I said, no, I don't drink anymore. No, come, just a little tequila. Like people couldn't believe that I wasn't the older version of myself that they knew. And they would try everything to get me to drink. And I'd be like, no, really, I don't drink. And so moving cities, suddenly, when I said to people, no, I don't drink, they went, oh, okay, that's interesting. Why? They didn't go, no, come on, you do. And this is one of the interesting things when you're moving to the next level of expansion in your life, is as you move through your fears and as you move through people wanting you to be the old version of yourself, things in your life start to shift dramatically. So that was one of my fears. The other fear was a fear of failure. I have such a fear of failure. It's the fear that comes up most often for me. I don't have a fear that I don't know enough. A lot of people have that fear, like how could I do that? I don't know enough. Or a lot of people have the money fear. How can I do that? Am I going to make money? The money fear comes up for me at times, but the bigger fear is, oh my God, I'm going to do this and it's not going to work. Oh my goodness, I'm going to do this and I'm going to fail. And yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about fear is just to keep doing anyway.
Yeah.
Right? But to keep doing from a place of life supporting you, to keep doing from a place of following the answers that life sends, rather than doing for doing's sake or doing because you think you should be doing or obligation.
What I've noticed is that with the fears, like you said, like you move to your next level of expansion, and the fear keeps coming back, but like in a different form. And I find that so interesting because it's like a lot of people are like, well, I want to get rid of my fears. These fears are so irritating, and I just want to go on, and then I'm going to have this amazing clear path, and I'm just going to be able to like do my thing without all this stuff, like all these hindrances and this stuff like stopping me. And I think that's so interesting because what I've realized is that a lot of my fears have also like over the course of the past couple of months they have come back so much, so much. I feel like every time they're a little bit different, and I can get to a understanding of the fear, and like through that obviously also of myself. And what I've really realized is that in order to be able to develop an fear, you have to be completely okay with the fear being there for the rest of your life.
Mm.
Get in there and be like, well, here's my fear. I love myself anyways, and I actually love this fear for what it's helping me achieve as well. And when you
Yeah.
get to that state of like I know you thought about like that state of like being okay with every, like the way it is, and like just like even I think you can even take beyond that to actually see like once you see the value that something actually adds to your life, even though it isn't as great as you should be. Um, Once you can actually get into that state of appreciation for something,
Yeah.
no matter how painful it is, like also past experiences, and once you can actually get into that state of appreciation, like wow, I see it's adding so much value and and expansion. That's the moment where you actually really that's the moment you're already.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I can't even add to that. You're right. So I call the ease and okayness the neutral space. This is
Yeah,
one of the things that we teach a lot of in the flow experience, and we keep reminding people. So the flow experience is a lot about people. It's not about actually putting more and more stuff into people because we're so bombarded by stuff. It's actually about stripping away and making it simpler and stripping away stuff, right? So really, and you'll find, through your flow experience, we're not bombarding you with stuff all the time. We're like asking you to kind of decondition because we've been so societally conditioned. So how do you strip away this past patterning and old conditioning? And the old conditioning says that if you want something, you've really got to push and struggle. And I call it the struggle paradigm. Like you've got to work hard to be successful. How many of you have heard your parents say that? You've got to work hard to be successful. Are you working hard? Are you doing, come on, you'll be a good girl if you're working hard. You can only be successful if it's hard. Like there's all this like difficulty, struggle stuff that goes on. And, the struggle is one way to live. It's a choice. Okay. But ease is another way to live. And for me, it's certainly been a more empowering way to live. And this is not a judgment. You can choose the struggle. Absolutely. And it's almost like this, Kat. When you go into an amusement park, right? There are loads of different rides. And you can choose whichever ride you want. Now, you can choose the crazy roller coaster that goes like, and 1 minute you're up, and the next minute you're down, and the next minute you're up, and the next minute you're down. You can choose that for your life. Or you can choose like that love canal tunnel, right? Where you get on like the little lazy river and off you go down the love canal, right? And there's no judgment. Like whatever you choose is whatever you choose for your life. But life is a little bit like that. You choose your experience. Now, most people don't realize when they're on the roller coaster and they're hating it, most people don't realize that they can have another choice. You can choose the ease, you can choose the meandering. And so one of the things that I say to people is that when anything is happening to them, what is the difference between flow and so the opposite of flow, because it's not about being in flow or out of flow. You're always in flow. But the opposite of flow is your resistance to flow.
yeah,
And that's where most people are. Most people are in absolute resistance to what is. They're in absolute resistance to whatever it is that's going on in their lives. They don't like it. They don't want to like it. They are resistant. And the more they resist, the tighter and tighter the pipe becomes. So instead of just being able to open out, so the pipe opens up when you're able to be at ease and okayness with what is. Some teachers call it acceptance. Some teachers call it surrender. I'm not particularly big on either of those words just because they have funny connotations for me. So I like to use the word ease or okayness. And there's a sentence that we absolutely love saying on the flow experience, and you've already learned this.
Oh yeah.
And it's, even though the situation is not ideal, in this moment it's okay, and in this moment I'm okay. And there are many times in your life when you're wanting to resist the situation because it's not ideal, it's not what you expected, it's not what you like, it's not any of those things. But if you can realize that this is just the way life is flowing through you at the moment, and you are a co-creator in this, and the more you move into ease, the more you're able to create from a place of really what you want rather than a place of what you don't want. When you go into ease, you start to create. It's almost like this. Ease is like that silent pond.
Yeah.
So the dissatisfaction is when the pond is all like disrupted. And most people are trying to take a pebble of what they want, that pebble of intention, that pebble of the things they're asking for, and they're trying to throw it into a pond that's all dissatisfied and disrupted. And ease is like going to that space of like, okay, the pond is silent and still. Even though this is not ideal, in this moment, it's okay. In this moment, I'm okay. Okay, there's the still pond. Now, what do I truly want to create? Oh, and I pop that pebble in, and it starts to ripple out. I don't even have to do anything to create those ripples. I just have to pop the pebble in and ask for things, and then the ripples come out. And you're absolutely right that, Kat, once you've got to a level of ease and okayness, the next consciousness leap up is to move into appreciation. Now, some people can't get there for where they are in that spot, and that's fine. Like, it's the next leap, but if you can't get there, just get to ease and okayness. But if you can move into appreciation, wow, the power of your life force is just completely exponentially extrapolated out into the world. If you can get into the appreciation for the fear that you're feeling, or the anger that's going on for you, because of what it's teaching you, because it's showing you where the resistances are, because it's showing you where the past patterning and conditioning is that you need to drop, like phenomenal. But most people are so in the resistance that they could never even get to the appreciation. So the ease step is a beautiful kind of neutral space of like, okay, even though the situation's not ideal, like even though my boyfriend's just broken up with me and I thought he was the love of my life, in this moment it's okay, and in this moment I'm okay.
I think
because it's true.
Yeah, I think it allows you to like once you're like, okay, well, this is, even though it's not ideal, it's okay. It allows you to kind of set a new point of focus. You're no longer like into this thing that's so much, and you can say, okay, well, I'm just going to like whatever it is, I'm just going to leave it, let it be. I'm going to just like put my a favorite spiritual teacher of mine says of all suffering, the idea that something that shouldn't be, or something that isn't should have been, like that, because that is like the essence of not being in the here and now. Like, well, this happened, it should have happened. I wanted to be something completely different, or the opposite. Like, why did that not happen? I should totally deserve for that to have happened. This really sucks. Now I'm not getting what I wanted.
Yeah.
And like that's where it comes from. It's like what we make, like basically like the meaning we attach to it. It's like, it's not like, oh well, my boyfriend broke up with me. Like that's whatever happened. Like that's the problem. The problem is like, oh my god, my boyfriend broke up with me. I'm unwantable. I did something wrong. He loves someone else more. I wasn't good enough for him. It's like all these things that we make them mean about ourselves. It's like the same with like this fear of failure thing. Is like, what does it mean about me if I fail at this? And that's like where the pain actually really comes from. It's because we don't want to be that unwanted, unloved someone who don't want to be that, because that's the opposite of getting love and attention and everything that we actually want. Where the real pain actually comes from.
Yeah. So suffering really comes from resistance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suffering and pain comes from resistance, which is the opposite of flow.
Yeah.
So if we extrapolate that out, then bliss, ultimately bliss and peace comes from flow.
Yeah.
Right? And so the resistance to what is now is where the pain and the suffering comes from. I'm resisting it because nothing is ever horrific. Yeah, it's just the meaning that we assign to it, and the meaning is either good or bad. So you'll have those days when you're excited and you're like woohoo because the good stuff has happened.
Yeah.
In fact, walking here towards this interview, after my coffee this morning, I noticed a lovely woman walking past me, and she had this top on, okay, and it said Fridays, and then it had a big smiley face, and then it said Mondays, and it had a big downwards, like, unhappy face. And I thought, wow, what a thing to wear in your t-shirts. Like, what is, like, you're resisting Mondays, you're resisting your whole week. In fact, the only time you allow life to flow through you is on the weekend.
Yeah.
Really? Wow. And that's what most people do.
Yeah.
The only time that they allow life to flow through them is the weekend. And in the week, they're in like resistance, huge resistance. Like, oh, I hate this job. Oh, I hate this thing. Oh, I hate this whatever. What?
Yeah, and because it's like 5 days of the normal work week and then like 2 days of weekend, they have to make up for all their unhappy weekend. So it's not even like they're doing spending the weekend doing what they love. It's they're spending the weekend making up for all the suffering and resistance and pain and not feeling everything. They're making up for that on the weekend. So it's not even anywhere near a balance. I mean, look, it's Monday and we're having like the best interview ever, and it's like, it really is what you make it mean. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And still, you know, I mean, you say that, and still I notice myself today having conditioning, right? Even though that I've been living in flow and really living, so even though I've been teaching this type of work for the last 10 years, and I've been truly living flow for the last 3 years and been running this flow experience for 18 months, even though all of that, I still notice myself in my conditioning of, the little voice saying, it's Monday morning, you better be productive, it's time to be productive. And you know what? On Saturday afternoon, I did 4 hours of like the most productive time that I've had this whole month. I was like in my creative flow. I wrote some stuff that was like truly inspired, etc. Now my little voice doesn't go, oh, it's okay. Like when you're in the flow, you're in the flow, and you know, whatever you're inspired to do, that little conditioning voice goes, it's Monday, better wake up early, better stop being productive. And I really have to like notice that and notice my past conditioning and go, actually, you know what? I'm going to move from inspiration to inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's what really a life of full flow is. Moving out of inspiration. So moving from a place of ease, whatever is, and I'm appreciative and inspired to do XYZ now.
What I've noticed is that also, like that kind of inspiration, it comes in cycles. Like, you know, we have this amazing idea, and then like for like a whole week, we're like so behind this idea and we do so much work for it. And the next week, we're just like, I want to sit at home and watch movies. And then we make this mean like, oh, I'm suddenly being lazy, or I'm not disciplined enough, or I should get behind my dream more, or like maybe it's not what I'm meant to be doing. Like again, we make it mean stuff. But instead it's just like, well, okay, it's a phase. And then like 3 days later, you'll be like, wow, I feel like I haven't done that much. Let me get right back into it. I'm feeling so inspired again. And like we have to like allow that. And I think like, you know, like this normal 5 work week, it doesn't allow us to do that because it's like so predetermined. Like, well, this is the time when you get to be productive, and any productivity that you have outside of work, it doesn't your hours, so why should you be? So you're not really going to do that either. And it's just, it's completely against any kind of human natural cycles of creativity and productivity, and it's just
it's mind-blowing, isn't it? It's absolutely mind-blowing. How did we create the system? How did we create the system to be so counter how we all want to live? And that's the beauty of, you know, my generation and your generation, Kat, is that we now get to uncreate that system and to shift into creating a new system. And it's not necessarily about saying that the old system is wrong, but for me, it's about including the aspects that really work and transcending. So, you know, one of okay, this is wrong and this is right, because as we've already said, there's no meaning. It is what it is, right? And It's about saying, okay, this is the system as it is, and how do we include the aspects that really work, and how do we transcend it? And that's also what the flow experience is about. What are the aspects of your life that really work, and then how do you transcend it to make it even more alive, even more in balance, even more joyful, even more blissful, even more abundance?
Yeah. Like you just like take what serves you, and like it's literally not about it being a good or bad. It's just like what serves you, and that you can take. It might be completely different for you and for other people. Like
Completely.
maybe the 9 to 5 thing works really, really well, and go them. They can just keep going with that. But people are meeting more and more people that it absolutely, and they have like these huge goals and visions and dreams. They just 9 to 5 the subject because it's just like way that even like comes into like something that might even work. And I think
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I was having a conversation yesterday um, about, well, I completely lost my train of thought there. Wait, what was I going to say? Uh,
That's okay. So you just got to flow with it, right? So that's what happens, right? Life was so this is just get into ease and okayness with it. You don't have to push it. You don't have to force it. Like this is a perfect example. Like don't push it, don't force it. Like that just didn't want to be expressed right now. Okay. So what does want to be expressed?
I got it again. It's basically about like habits. So just, I was speaking to a friend. Well, in German we call it the innere Schweinehund. It's basically the part of you that wants to sit on the all day and eat junk food. You know, like the bad habit self, so to speak. And we
Yep.
thought this, and we actually found in the end we're just like, you know what, it's actually such complete bullshit. Like we don't have a part inside ourselves that's against us and trying to keep us from all these nice things that we could be having. Like there's no internal war like that going on inside us where one part is like, well, I want to sit on the couch and eat chips. Like that's just compensation for the stress that you're actually causing yourself through actually not yourself.
Absolutely.
And then we were saying like basically that all these habits that you accumulate that you would now consider bad habits, they're actually like they really really served you at some point. So there's actually no such thing as a bad habit because every habit was made like to survive and to thrive. Every single habit you ever conditioned yourself to adopt it really really served you at some point. So now it's just a matter of saying, well, this doesn't serve me anymore, so I can just let it go just as easily as I adopted it.
Yeah.
So like that inner demons warring against each other kind of thing. It's you and all of you and your higher self and your entire universe just wants to get you towards your goal, basically.
You know what's fascinating for me is often people will say this when I start talking about flow, because part of their resistance is like, what? Really? It can't be. Like, and there's that conditioning, this deep conditioning. Like, no, but that's laziness. Like, if I was
Yeah.
truly allowed to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, like I would sit on the couch all day and eat chips, or I would spend all my days at the beach. No, you'd only spend all your days at the beach because you haven't been allowing yourself to do that. And my business partner and Timmy, who runs the flow experience with me, she spends a lot of time on the beach. She loves the beach. She absolutely loves it. And let me tell you, after she spends some time on the beach, her creativity goes like this. After I've spent time surfing in the morning, that's what happened on Saturday. I went surfing. I surfed for an hour and a half. It was amazing. And on Saturday afternoon, wow, just downloads for me of creative writing and stuff. Like, because why? Because you're doing what you love. And I think there's this fallacy, okay? And this was created in the 1600s and 1700s by landlords who were really trying to keep people in slavery, right? That there were the idle poor, okay? Or the idle workers. That if workers weren't enslaved, weren't told that they had to be at work at 8 in the morning and leave at 5, if they were given, then they'd be idle.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you'll be lazy. So this is one of the school, like, oh, you're lazy or you're going to be idle. No, as human beings, we have natural dynamism. We are naturally dynamic. You try it, Kat. You go and sit on your couch, and you may sit on your couch for a few hours or a few days But eventually there'll be something that moves you off your couch. You'll be like, I'm done with this. Like, this is boring. This is terrible. Like, what the hell? Some people that'll only last a few minutes. Some people that'll last a few days. And that's okay. No judgments. But we are naturally dynamic human beings. And so one of the things that we talk about in the flow experience is effortlessness.
Yeah.
Okay. And people are like, oh my gosh, is that like laziness? And I'd like you to read you something because I really, really love this. What is meant by effortlessness is an awareness when something doesn't feel right. Okay. And then choosing not to force oneself to do it out of guilt or obligation or any other type of poisonous emotion. Because when you do stuff out of sacrifice or guilt or strain or obligation, let me tell you, it doesn't create inspiration. It doesn't create amazing things in the world. Like, you and I are not doing this out of obligation. You and I are doing this out of inspiration. What's fascinating to me is that 2 weeks ago, we were due to do this call, right? And 2 weeks ago, I had this sense of obligation around this interview, and I could feel it. I could feel it as I was driving my car in the morning, and I was thinking, geez, I've got to be here at a certain time, and it's not actually really where I'm wanting to be. And then fascinatingly, like, the times got mixed up, and you weren't around for that call. I was like, see that? Right? Not
so
creating
funny.
out of obligation, right?
It was so funny because this is like the third time that we're actually like getting together to do this interview. Like, the first time you were like, well, I'm not feeling it. And the second, completely messed up the times, and actually like here doing it, and it's like definitely something I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Like, when something doesn't work out, to just be like, okay, well, that's okay. But I feel like a lot of people also, like, if that happened, they would have said it wasn't meant to be, like maybe it just wasn't meant for thing. I feel like it's a trap that some people do also get into, definitely.
Yeah. So I'd love to carry on about effortlessness because I think it's a really important thing.
Yeah.
So when you apply this, when you take action out of an inspired place, when you take action out of a place that's ease-filled, not strain, not obligation, not sacrifice, not I should be doing it. When you apply this, it's amazing to see how quickly things shift and change and manifest in your life. And often you'll need to let go of something for a while until the desire naturally arises to do it. And at which point the action itself becomes entirely effortless. And as a result, it becomes exponentially more effective. So, sometimes, I have this, when I see surfers surfing, like pro surfers or people surfing, and they're surfing a wave, it looks effortless, right? They make it look so easy. If you see any kind of professional doing something, that's effortlessness in action, because they're really just, they're so with it. They're so in flow. They're so allowing the thing to flow through them, right? The energy of this wave, this surfboard, this everything to flow through them. It looks completely, completely effortless. And, that's the beautiful thing, is that you can connect to this effortlessness even as a novice.
Yeah.
It's about taking action as the desire moves.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we least understand is desires, and how to actually allow the desire to rise, and then to say, okay, this is my desire in this moment, and let me do this. Okay, perfect, great. And that's one of the things that we teach on the flow experience as well.
Yeah. I think that's like, I reading this also in your book, Fairy Godmother's Guide to Getting What You Want. I remember reading that and being so fascinated by it, because it's that idea of, like, first of all, like, don't forget about the how, about how you're actually going to get to whatever goal that you set yourself, and then just like really doing what you love right here and now, because that's how the inspiration happens. And I think that's funny enough. I told you about that YouTube event that I was at over the weekend, and the session that I held, I was also talking about goal setting, and it's like also like a few like tips and tools on how to actually achieve your goals and the kind of goals. And I was also talking about like the SMART goals and stuff like that. And I think I'm just so fascinated by that concept that if you forget about the how and you just do what you want right here and now, the inspiration for everything will happen, because you're already living in the now, and that's where all the inspiration and the magic happens. So I you used to say, like, take aggressive action, and then that changed to take inspired action. So what actually is that change? And what's the difference actually between being like, well, I really have this goal and I feel so motivated, let me find something to do about it, and being like, let me just go do what I love?
Flow. Flow, absolutely. Flow, and seeing flow in my life. And what I got was that taking aggressive action comes out of that energy. You can hear
Yeah.
it. Aggressive
Yes.
action, right? like push, force, strain,
Yeah.
aggressive. And so I was seeing it in my own life. There were a lot of things that I was taking aggressive action around, and they weren't manifesting.
Yeah.
And and I was seeing this in my own life. I was seeing this in clients' lives. Some of them would get clear on their dreams and goals, and things would manifest like this. And others would get clear on their dreams and goals, and things would take forever or not manifest.
Yeah.
And I was seeing that in my own life as well. And so this is an inquiry that I keep having. Okay, well, how, so for me, it's very much not just about spiritual philosophy, it's about a pragmatic approach. What tools can I use daily to help me be in a space where I can absolutely be empowered and reach my fullest potential, and give my most authentic expression to the world? And hence my teaching is all about that. So when I realized that this aggressive action wasn't working, I was like, okay, hold on. So what is it? And it's about coming from this place of inspired action. I'm inspired. It's coming from this place that we spoke about, this effortlessness. When desire naturally arises, then it's the perfect time. Until then, it's not the perfect time.
Yeah.
And it's also the idea that you're a co-creator. So often when you're taking aggressive action, there's that feeling that it's your will. Okay, like divine will, like it doesn't matter whether divine will is with you or not.
Like in this way.
Yeah, exactly. I want to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm pushing, I'm forcing, etc. And what I found in manifesting is that when you can take divine will and connect it to your will, or you can take your will and connect it to divine will, then exponential, quantum leaps you start to take, rather than this pushing, forcing, stressing. And also what shifted was, Kat, the shift into this age of spirit and consciousness. And what I was seeing is that as the shift happened into 2012, the way of pushing and forcing and struggling actually fell away. So up until that point, there were some results that were being achieved through that mechanism, but literally that's fallen away.
It just no longer serves us.
Yeah, it's just old technology. It's like, why would you use an Atari computer these days? You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly what it is. Why would you use that technology? It's old technology. Here's the new technology.
So this is what created the flow experiment, right? Just actually deciding to, instead of pushing and forcing and struggling, kind of against the elements, to actually just deciding to do what you love in the moment, right? That's what created it.
Yeah. So I had been teaching about getting clear on your dreams, goals, vision. Right. And I'd been teaching also about finances and financial freedom. And I'd found, and I'd done a number of online courses, and I was doing workshops, and I was doing retreats, and I was doing all those things. And then I found sometimes it was working, sometimes it wasn't working. And then and particularly in my own life, I went, and it was working when I was flowing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working when I was pushing and forcing, but I hadn't got that distinction yet. And as soon as although if you read my book, you'll see that the book was completely inspired and happened through a flow experience. In fact, it's quite fascinating. 2 years ago, I re-edited my book because it was going into the 4th edition, and my publisher asked me if I wanted to re-edit it. And as I was reading it, I was like, I can't believe I wrote this stuff. Oh my God, how wise was I in 2008? Geez, I should be really listening to what? How did I know this stuff? Because I hadn't read it since I'd edited it and written it in 2008, 2009. And I was like, wow, I already knew so much of that stuff then. But this is life, right? We go into the next layer of the onion and the next layer of the onion, and we keep learning the lessons. We like to see it as a spiral. We keep learning the lessons at deeper and deeper and deeper levels. And we keep unconditioning and patterning ourselves at deeper and deeper and deeper levels. And so the flow experience really came from a place of there's a thing of doing what you love. And that's one of the things that I was teaching. Go and do what you love. But it was more of a go and do what you love in your life. Go and find your life purpose and go and do what you love. Now, what it's come down to from a flow experience perspective is do what you love moment by moment.
Yeah.
like moment by moment, not just like, do I love being a fairy godmother? Yes. Did I love being a fairy godmother 5 years ago? Yes. But there were a number of things that I used to do in my work that I didn't love.
Mm.
So the overarching, am I doing what I love? Yes. But there was a number of things that I didn't love. And those things I had to push and force through.
Yeah.
Now it's like, am I loving what I'm doing moment by moment? And if the answer is no, can I be at ease with what I'm doing? And if the answer is also no, then accept for what it is and stop doing it.
Yeah.
You know? So the ultimate is being in love with what you do moment by moment. And for me, it's very clear. Every time I find something is a bit efforty or struggly, or I feel like I'm pushing, stop, go surfing, go for a walk, phone a friend. And people go, yeah, but life can't work like that. Yes, it can. And what we also found is that my business partner and I started delegating all the stuff that we didn't love to do. We started outsourcing it. We started getting other people to do it. And believe it or not, there are other people in the world who absolutely love doing the things that you don't like doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. I can't get it. Like how can you love
That's the
admin?
beauty of it. That's
But
the
we
beauty
found
of it.
someone who flippin' loves admin. Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Another thing that I really, really love about the flow experience is that like it's not just another online course, so to speak. Like it's actually a community of people who all contribute their own part. So like why was it actually so important to you to kind of get rid of that mentality and have something where everybody creates like as a whole basically? What's the purpose of that for you?
It's also about a new operating system. So for us, the era of the guru is dead. Like, the era of the guru was really useful when consciousness, hadn't reached a certain level on this planet. So you could sit at the foot of a guru and listen and move into awareness, and they could help move and shift consciousness. But the reality is, there is so much wisdom inside you, Kat, and inside every single person who's watching this YouTube video. Who am I to tell you? Like, so for me, my role is to be a facilitator more than a
Yeah,
guru or a teacher. Like, I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I fuck up. Like, stuff happens. I get into the times when I'm like not in ease, right? I get into the times when I get so attached to what I expected and then go through the pain and then just, but I keep having the tools to remind myself. And so those times shift quicker and quicker.
yeah,
And so for me, it was about, okay, how do I facilitate this and give people the tools? And Timmy, my business partner, is also a co-facilitator. And we were like, you know what? In this era, it's no longer about I'm the guru, you're the follower, let me teach you. It's about let's co-create.
yeah,
And really, for this world to be the amazing world that we all deep down know is possible,
yeah,
it's got to be about collaboration. It's got to be about co-creation. It's got to be about community. And so we knew that the flow experience needed to be an experience where there are people in community having this experience and sharing their wisdom.
yeah,
Let me tell you, over the last 13, 14 months that the flow experience has been running, I have learned as much from the people on the flow experience as they have been learning from me. And you'll see how dynamic the community is. And people are vulnerable. People share their stuff, and they share the not so nice stuff and the amazing stuff. They share their wisdom. And you'll know that you've learned stuff from me, but you've also
yeah,
learned stuff from other people that have been posting as well.
yeah,
And that's the power. Also, what we knew is that the power of collective intention is so much bigger than individual intention.
yeah,
So if you've got a group of people, and we've had 105 people on this flow experience, if you've got a group of people who have all got an intention to be living flow and to be experiencing this new operating system and to be shifting their level of consciousness in the world, that exponentially creates that for the group.
it's amazing because like I feel like these two key points really. The first is like stepping into your own power and divinity, and the second one is actually the intentional community aspect really. And I think
Yeah.
like we've we've been very much separated into countries, races, sexes, religions, down to like the one family house kind of thing, and it's just like so much separation. And it's really like what I'm seeing in so many communities. I mean, like being a vegan, I've like in that whole community, it's like one of the most amazing communities that I've ever been a part of, or like it's just absolutely amazing. And I really feel like this idea that we get to choose who we spend our time with, we get to choose surround ourselves with. Like you know that saying, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And we get
Yeah.
to choose who those 5 people are. We get to choose to surround ourselves with people who uplift us and who support us. And who, even if they think our goal is completely crazy and insane, they'll still say, I support you. And I think
Yeah.
that's the most beautiful thing. And it's really like, it's fascinating to just see that shift generally in the world. And it's,
Yeah.
oh, it's like, it's absolutely so mind blowing.
Yeah. The other reason why we wanted to make it a community experience is because it's a year long. People have to be part of the flow experience for a minimum of a year.
Yeah.
So many of our flow experiences, like it's past 1 year, and we are astounded at how many people are still in it and still staying on it. And we're delighted, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a minimum period of a year. And the reason why we said that is because we know what flow is like. And when people get into flow originally and come into the flow experience, there's a lot of unconditioning that happens. There's a lot of past patterning that starts to surface. There are a lot of fears that come up. And so we really wanted to hold people in a kind of sacred community space over that time, right? Rather than saying, okay, this is a 2-month program or this is a 3-month program. Also, we didn't, how do you teach flow in a way that's not you should or have to? We didn't want like, okay, here's your module 1. Now you have to do this module by the end of the week and put your feedback. Like, that's not flow.
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing on the flow experience you'll see is that people dip in and out as they want. There'll be times when they're really active on the forums, they're really active with sharing stuff, and there'll be other times when you don't see them at all. In fact, we've got people from 9 countries around the world on the flow experience, and one of the women is in Mozambique, and she never dips in and out of the community. And we got an email from her saying, this is the best thing that's ever happened in my life. I'm like, hold on, like I don't even know who this woman is. She hasn't, we haven't seen her online, and yet it's the best thing that's ever happened. Why? Because she's connecting into the consciousness.
Yeah.
And she's connecting in a way that feels authentic and inspired and perfect for her. And so she's getting the most out.
Yeah. That's really, really awesome. So basically, what changed the name from Flow Experiment to Flow Experience?
We changed the name from the Flow Experiment to the Flow Experience. This has happened in the last month because we've realized it's no longer an experiment. I mean, Timmy and I have been living this experience for the last 3 years. When we started it, it was an experiment for a week. Can we really just live in flow? And then it turned into a week, turned into 2 weeks, turned into a month, turned into for the rest of our lives. And when we started, because it was not a program and not modularized, etc., when we launched it in 2014, we decided to call it an experiment because we were really saying to people, it is an experiment. It's about co-creating through community. We're not the gurus. Like, all of this stuff is experimental. Most of the online programs out there that you'll see are people saying, I'm the guru, I'm the teacher, here are the modules, do the exercises, get the wisdom, off you go. Right? We're not saying that. We're saying, come and join a community that's absolutely committed to a shift in consciousness, yours and our own. And collectively, we know that that's going to shift the world. So for us, the flow experience is really about an experience of being part of this revolution of evolution that's going on in consciousness. And it's about being an experience. It's not an experiment.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So I know you're training facilitators for your dream mapping workshops and stuff. Does that mean that you're going to stop doing the workshops, or like where's it actually all going? Where's your business going, basically? I'm really curious about that.
As a fairy godmother, my core focus is now becoming about flow and the flow experience, and really getting more and more people onto the flow experience, and people from around the world onto the flow experience. So the key is, with the dream mapping and goal setting workshops, I've trained facilitators. I will still be doing workshops and talks and retreats, but they will certainly be more in the line of flow than in the line of dreams, goals, and vision. Okay. And within flow, we'll talk about dreams, goals, vision, and we'll talk about dreams, goals, vision out of a place of flow. But I'm just clear that I've been teaching that dream mapping and goal setting workshop for the last 9 years. It's been fantastic. I loved it. And now it was time to hand it on for other people to teach it and have the same experience I've had, because flow is such a rich place for me to be playing at the moment.
Mm.
And it's about noticing that desire, right? Just because
Yeah.
I've done those workshops for the last 9 years, just because I've trained over 6,000 people from around the world doing those workshops doesn't mean I have to continue to do them.
Yeah.
Like the desire started to fade around them. And it was like, okay, where is the juice for me? Okay, the
Yeah.
juice is right here in the flow experience. Okay, let's do that. That's the expression in the world now.
So you're relaunching next January, right?
So in January 2016, we are doing a launch of the Flow Experience. We'll have a number of things for people. So if you log on to our website, which is flow-experience.com, we're doing a free webinar training for an hour and a half at the end of January. We're also doing a free video series. So if there are people who want more information, if you want to get more connected, what is this? That's all free content that's going to go out. And of course, we invite you to join the year-long Flow Experience. If this has sparked your inspiration, has sparked your desire, if you're like, wow, Flow, that sounds really interesting, come and join us for a year. Or you may just want to watch the free stuff and go, okay, I've got enough of the awareness, cool.
Yeah, definitely. So for anyone who does actually want to check it out, there is a link right at the top of the info box down below. And if you go through that, it's an affiliate link. So go do that and just watch all the videos. And Donna has a blog and a website too, or check out her guided meditations and her book. And like there's so much amazing content that she has produced also on a Facebook page as well. So just really go and check that out and have a look. And yeah, that basically brings us to the end of our interview. Maybe you want to still share like a final message for everyone who's watching to go into their day.
Wow, I mean, I think this has been such a, like the whole thing has been such a huge message. I don't know if I could distill it into one thing, but if I was to distill it into one thing, it would really be to connect to your desire moment by moment, to be in ease with what is, and to allow your expression to flow through the world and give your gifts to the world. That's living magically. That's living flow.
Thank you so much, Donna. I am so, so, so grateful to have had you with me today, and I'm so glad we managed to do this. And well, I'll see you in South Africa probably over Christmas. Something like
Fantastic.
that.
Looking so loved being with you and big wand waves, big fairy dust, big magic to you. Ting.